Hi guys, and welcome to this summary video on the princes of the Thoth deck. We're also going to be introducing the topic of the Cherubim and how this relates to the princes, and do a bit of biblical translation in the process. So we've seen the Prince of Wands, who looks like this, and he's basically someone that gets things done. He's very creative and has a lust for life. He's related to the sign Leo, and that is a fixed sign. We've also met the Prince of Cups, who's possibly the most complex of the princes. He has immense insight into life, but he can be a little bit unreliable, can be secretive and self-centered, but he does have tremendous insight because he does live life to the full. He's ruled, or his influence is very much aligned with Scorpio, so he's a very intense character, somewhat difficult to get to know. Prince of Swords, we saw, has a lot of highly developed intellect, which is often abstract, so he may lack direction, and we can see that implied in the lack of focus in the card. He also may lack some emotional warmth and empathy. And finally we have the Prince of Discs, who's concerned very much with practical matters, health and the material side of life, and he's very focused on that. He's related to Taurus, and I neglected with the Prince of Swords, he's related to the fixed sign of Aquarius. So all of the princes are related to fixed signs of the zodiac, and there must be a reason for that. They're also related to the Cherubim, which are mentioned in the Book of Thoth. So what we're going to do now is go on to a screen capture section next and look at that aspect of them in a little bit more detail. Okay, so what are the Cherubims? Well, according to Wikipedia, a cherubim or cherubs are angelic beings involved in the worship and praise of God. And it's to mention that they are winged beings, so they're another word for angels. In this old diagram here, we've got the man representing Aquarius, you've got Leo expressed here with the lion, Scorpio with the eagle, and Taurus with the bull. So these cherubims have definitely got some biblical reference, and we go to Genesis 3:24 here. So in Genesis 3:24 it says, "So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life." So interpreting that, on my website I've spent a fair bit of time doing biblical interpretation from a mystical point of view, and whenever it is referenced in the Bible east, it represents the right side of our brain, which is the spiritual side. It's like points of a compass. The eastern side is always the spiritual side, which is why the Garden of Eden is in the east, which is why there's references to fishermen casting nets to the east. So whenever you see the word east in the Bible, it represents some spiritual aspect. So the cherubim itself is really just an aspect of our higher self, and we'll look at the diagrams of each of the princes in turn very briefly, because what's happening is that the princes have got the helmets. They've got cherubims on the helmets. Obviously the helmet is part of the headgear, and the head is where the highest chakras are. So it's representing a connection of the princes to Keter on the tree of life, and to his divine aspect. The flaming sword here is basically the flaming sword of truth, which cuts through things. It's like Jesus says in Matthew 10:34, "Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword." So it's the sword that cuts through Maya, or illusion. The tree of life is obviously representative of the tree of life that we've spoken about. Okay, so we'll go on to just because this is a summary video, to the princes in turn. So his cherubim is represented by the lion here, and there are the wings. Again, that forms part of his helmet. Again, with the Scorpio aspect, so his higher centers are here, and this is represented his link to spirit. Same with the Prince of Swords here. He's got an awful lot to work through with all this distortion going on and his lack of focus. And finally here we've got the winged bull's head. So in conclusion, with the Thoth princes, what I found out is that they're essentially rather active characters, and they like balance. They have to go through the strife of the fives of each of their suits, because they rule the fives and the sixes, but they come through with the harmony and balance of the six of the minor arcana. The most focused of the princes are the Prince of Wands and the Prince of Discs, with the Prince of Cups being the most complex as a result of his like association with Scorpio. The Prince of Swords is the one who lacks direction the most, and again he's represented by this distorted image. All of the princes are associated with B.O.T.A, which is one of their big redeeming factors, and it's the result of their location on the middle pillar. All of the princes are linked to the cherubim, as seen symbolically in the diagrams that I've shown. So this is their like potential spiritual aspect that they can open up. And this really can be reflected in a reading. So when a prince comes up in a reading, that, you know, depending on dignity and the way that the spread unfolds, this spiritual aspect of them is something that can potentially be brought out in a reading that often isn't. So I think that's it for this video. Something that I'm going to look up a bit more detail is why is there an association with the fixed signs of the zodiac? Is that any relationship to the cross, Christian cross? But anyway, that'll be my own study. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and it's given you a bit more of a dimension to the princes, which I've really enjoyed, and we go on to the princesses next.